after the press conference?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey Laura, it's Alex. Can you roll on live U2 for the
Donahue. I'm a captain with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. My last name is spelled D-O-N-A-H-U-E. I'm a captain here at the Poway Station, and today we're here to talk about Operation Mountain Shadow, which has been a year-long undercover operation involving the Sheriff's Department and the Drug Enforcement Administration. First, before we get started, I'd like to introduce our law enforcement partners in this operation. To my immediate right is San Diego County District Attorney Bonnie DeManis, San Diego County Deputy District Attorney Matt Tagg, City of Poway Mayor Don Higginson, and Ramona Sheriff Substation Lieutenant James Beauvais. To my immediate left, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration Special Agent in Charge Bill Sherman, Assistant U.S. Attorney Steve Wong, Assistant U.S. Attorney Janet Cabral, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Assistant Special Agent in Charge Craig Chilcott, and Sheriff's Commander Dave Myers. Today, 65 suspects are in custody following the conclusion of Operation Mountain Shadow. Today's arrests conclude a year-long undercover drug operation that targeted suspects in the Poway and Ramona areas. The San Diego Sheriff's Department, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and other partner agencies also served 12 search warrants this morning. Operation Mountain Shadow was launched in October of 2012 in response to drug trafficking activity and drug-related crimes in the Poway and Ramona areas. During this operation, undercover deputies and agents targeted primarily street-level dealers utilizing buy-walk operations. Methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, pharmaceutical drugs, a small quantity of marijuana, and firearms were purchased from suspects that resulted in the issuance of arrest and search warrants. Evidence seized during the operation today consists of 93 pounds of methamphetamine, 56 pounds of cocaine, 14 pounds of heroin, 5 pounds of pharmaceutical drugs, a small quantity of marijuana, all with a combined street value of about $2.1 million. Also seized is about $230,000 in cash, 76 firearms, as well as 1 live hand grenade. Right now, I'd like to turn it over to District Attorney Bonnie DeManis to say a few words.
Thank you, Captain. Good afternoon. I want to say a special thank you to all of the law enforcement agencies who worked together to make this happen. And of course, Deputy DA Matt Tagg, who is here with me today. He will be the lead prosecutor on this effort. As a result of Operation Mountain Shadow, the District Attorney's Office will be prosecuting 24 separate criminal cases with 33 defendants. These aren't low-level drug dealers. These are people with long criminal histories, including violent crimes. Criminal charges we've filed include conspiracy to sell heroin, meth, cocaine, ecstasy, and firearms. If convicted, some of these defendants face as much as 13 years in state prison. This operation is a great example of how law enforcement here in San Diego identifies a problem and then works alongside the DA's office and each of us participating with our law enforcement partners to take action. I want to say a special kudos to the Sheriff's Department. They saw a big spike in crime in Ramona and Poway, and it was tied to heroin and methamphetamine trafficking, and they did something about it. Deaths from drug overdoses were also on the rise. Operation Mountain Shadow sends a strong message to drug dealers who bring violent crime to our neighborhoods. We will track you down, and we will take your drug operation down link by link. As a result of this proactive operation, 2 communities are safer, and who knows how many lives have been saved. I want to make one final point. I think it's notable that you see that heroin is one of the ones that are being sold. Last year in San Diego County, heroin was the most common drug among people aged 20 to 29 who died of an accidental overdose. About 10 years ago, 5% of adult men arrested had heroin in their system. Last year, that percentage doubled. Why is that happening? One reason is because the kids who abuse prescription drugs often move on to heroin, just like oxycodone and some of the other drugs that they've been using, because it's cheaper and it's easier. The District Attorney's Office will continue working with our law enforcement partners on operations like this, trying to make sure that heroin and drugs aren't easier for them to get, and we'll continue to take action when we recognize crime trends that jeopardize public safety. Thank you very much, and if there are questions later, Matt will be available. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. And now I'd like to turn it over to Drug Enforcement Administration Special Agent in Charge, Bill Sherman, for a brief statement.
Thanks, Captain. I think the district attorney stated it very well. These were more than just drug traffickers. Anytime you see these quantities of narcotics coupled with 76, or I think it's now up to 77 firearms, you're taking a lot of dangerous criminals off the street. And like she said, they went way beyond drug trafficking. They were involved in all sorts of violent crimes. So again, without a doubt, thanks to the efforts of the Sheriff's Department, DEA, ATF, and all of our law enforcement partners, Poway and Ramona are definitely a safer place today than they were yesterday. And this was just another fine example of the way San Diego County law enforcement works. We work together, we share information, and we put operations together like this that, again, make our communities a safer place.
Thanks, Bill. Assistant U.S. Attorney Steve Wong would like to say a few words now.
Good afternoon. Earlier this morning, 10 residents of San Diego County were arrested and charged with federal drug trafficking and firearms crimes. 2 additional arrests are expected shortly. And as you just heard, dozens of additional San Diego County residents have been arrested and charged with state drug trafficking offenses and are being prosecuted by our colleagues at the District Attorney's Office. The charges stem from drug trafficking and firearms offenses occurring primarily here in the North County communities of Poway and Ramona. The federal charges against the 12 defendants are the result of an intensive 10-month-long investigation led by the violent trafficking team from the DEA San Diego Division. Most of the defendants arrested today were part of the massive federal law enforcement operation involving more than 150 federal, state, and local law enforcement officers. Officers also executed 6 federal search warrants at residences and businesses during the operation. All the defendants were charged with distributing methamphetamine or conspiring with others to distribute methamphetamine or using firearms in furtherance of their drug distribution efforts and illegally possessing firearms. The DEA's violent trafficking team was created to respond to violent drug trafficking organizations in local communities throughout the country. The violent trafficking teams are deployed on a temporary basis to assist state and local law enforcement officers in the disruption and dismantling of drug trafficking organizations, as you have seen here today. The violent trafficking team's deployment in Poway and Ramona was intended to address a surge in violent crime and drug overdoses, particularly among young people, as our district attorney very aptly described just a few minutes ago. The surge was also directly connected to narcotics and firearms trafficking in the area. During the 10-month-long investigation, agents conducted multiple seizures of methamphetamine, dozens of controlled purchases, and also seized firearms, including the firearms you see before you today. The U.S. Attorney would like to, again, thank our partnership with state and local agencies, and will be available for questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. More arrests are anticipated. The Sheriff's Department would like to also thank the following agencies that assisted in today's arrests: the Drug Enforcement Administration, in particular the Violent Trafficking Team, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the U.S. Marshals Service, the Regional Auto Theft Task Force, San Diego County District Attorney's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Border Patrol, the Narcotics Task Force, and the FBI Violent Crimes Gang Task Force. As a side note, we really are blessed in this county where we have a fine group of federal, state, and local law enforcement officers that really do work well together and collaborate and effectively use the public resources. And boy, I wish that could be said in all communities, but I can tell you in San Diego, we have it going on when it comes to everybody working very well together for a common good. With that, I'll turn it over to the press for any questions that you might have.
Kids, are they from out of state, or are they people?
We saw in Poway, we saw a younger demographic of suspects that were selling narcotics. As you move up the hill towards the Ramona area, I think it was definitely an older, probably more experienced group of suspects that have more significant priors and prior related drug offenses. We definitely saw that.
Why the name Operation Mountain?
No, I knew that would come up. That came up primarily because of Ramona, the mountainous areas, and a lot of the hiding in shadows we had to do to catch the bad guys, selling drugs.
Those arrested this morning, how many approximately from Poway? Can you break it down?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I can tell you approximately 20% of the arrests are Poway arrests versus the 80% from Ramona.
You said a grenade was found. Can you elaborate just a little bit as to circumstances?
That part of the investigation is still ongoing, but it was discovered during a search of a residence in Ramona.
Can you tell us what businesses were involved?
I'm not sure the exact businesses involved.
And we have quite a few firearms here. I heard they were purchased. They're not stolen originally, were they?
We'll certainly run checks on them to see if they were stolen or reported stolen, but these were all purchased in conjunction. And keep in mind, all the evidence you see before you is just a representative sampling of the evidence from the operation. We obviously could fill a room bigger than this with all the stuff we have.
Did you say there were 65 arrests, but 33 defendants?
33 defendants on the state side. So it's we're both doing it. The U.S. Attorney's Office is doing it, and the District Attorney's Office is doing it.
And did this involve trafficking of drugs and weapons or whatever it is across, like beyond California?
It's within San Diego. Our
Maybe
cases.
ATF, can you answer that?
With all criminal activities, it tends to affect all areas. So these specifically, most of these came from local area, but they do have a national impact and a national effect on violent crime. So yeah, it has a nexus.
Tell me how many undercover officers are involved in the actual spying, walking operation, were they DEA or the sheriff's?
It was a combination primarily of detectives from the Ramona substation, detectives from the Poway Criminal Apprehension Team, and agents from the Drug Enforcement Administration, VTT. Approximate number, I would say, probably about a dozen at any given time were involved in it. It's a rough estimate.
Is there any known gang involvement?
I'm not aware of any specific gang involvement to be able to tell you with any certainty right now.
How many different arrests or different locations were you at this morning in Ramona making arrests?
We served 12 search warrants this morning. I believe of the 12, roughly about 9, approximately 8 to 9 were in Ramona, and the rest would have been in Poway.
Did this involve manufacture of it or just the trafficking of it?
Primarily trafficking. If there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and conclude the media briefing. I appreciate everybody's time, and thank you.
Well, so the deputy and the detectives from the substation, because it's semi-rural area, I see what they're talking about. As far as how good? So anybody that has children that were in proximity of big water.
Dave, what are you doing? Tree angle?
Let's say the hell.
Don't forget your microphone. Yeah, Mike and I used to roll back when we were kids. Oh yeah, Mike's a good guy. We worked patrol together. The deputy left.
During Freedom Winter.
I don't think she's seen one.
How's that gonna romp? Freeze a long ass road. Yeah, yeah. I didn't understand that it was, I didn't know it was really 279.